to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with another video. This time I want to talk to you about the APC-003 Attack Prime Crystal Power version, and this is the Transformers Prime version of Optimus Prime. Yes, I did get this from Show Z, and I will have a link down below where you could get yours also. This figure is actually an improvement to the original, and as the APC first edition Prime has sold out, this is actually an excellent stand-in, if not partially an upgrade. We're going to talk about all this stuff coming up. So let's take a quick look at the packaging, and I really do like packaging on this. It really does just show Prime's head and I guess maybe one of his smokestacks. But it's different. It's way different than anything else you've seen. You really can't get it confused with what's going on. I guess I can't tell what's the front or the back with this. Maybe this is the back, maybe this is the front. I think this is the back though. Kind of shows you both the alt mode and the funny thing is this has the black tires. Mine is the clear tires. But let's have a quick comparison to the first one here, and there we go. That's the original packaging on that one. Now it's interesting because the new one we get kind of Zeta style foam, and the first one we got the plastic, so they're changing up their packaging, and I don't really know why. So let's take a quick look at this guy in his bot mode, and I have to say I have to kind of control the light because of the fact that he is clear, and we're going to look at a lighting see-through because basically he's light piped all of the way. But this is kind of how he looks all the way around. It looks pretty good. When you do get this figure right out of the package, they condense him down, and part of that is they mistransform the back piece. So you have to kind of put the back in line. And they do have the heel pieces folded in. So it fits in there so you can have a smaller, sleeker packaging, which it's okay. It's kind of something that we're getting used to. Fans Toys does it. A lot of other companies do it. But you will have to partially transform this out if you want him in bot mode. And of course, you'll completely have to transform him if you want him in his alt mode. But there he is. He looks pretty good. Real quick, I'm going to try this, and I hope it doesn't really look too bad on the camera, but showing a light through him, kind of showing the light piping of the figure. And yeah, the effect is kind of cool. That's one thing about the clear. Like, I'm not huge into the clear, but the fact that they did this and the way they did this, I like how it was done because we're going to see some accents on it. So let's kind of have a look at the head starting at the top here, and we can see the paint. Now, there's a lot of paint on this face, a lot of head. It's completely clear with silver paint and silver accents on this stuff. And so getting down to it, looking at it, we have paint all kind of in his chest area here. And again, I don't have excessive light on this because the fact that it's clear is going to cause some issues. And then looking at this, we have clear blue pieces that are inserted into the chest piece, which is kind of cool. And then we have like a really dark. Now, I don't think this piece here is clear. And the reason is I think a lot of the hinges, they looked at it and they said, we're going to make these hinges and all these parts that could break made of non-clear plastic. So it is going to hold up a little bit better. So that's one good thing about the APC toys. We do have a lot of paint. This whole area down here is painted, and this has a really nice kind of a metallic blue, and that's awesome because of course this whole torso piece is, all of this is clear. It's just got paint on it, so it looks good. Now, I like that better than 100% clear because it gets really boring if it's 100% clear. We also have paint down here. There's paint all over the figure. Now, I wish there was paint on the weapons more than there really is. Now, we do see this Star Saber kind of sword there, and there is some gold paint, not nearly as much as we see on the other version, but we're going to compare versions here in just a second. But looking at the back, it is, you know, pretty much the best version of Prime. From my understanding, this first edition Prime, since I'm not super into Transformers Prime, this is the best version, and I have another version that I thought was pretty cool, the Weaponizer, but I do see how this is more screen accurate than the Weaponizer, and this one does look a lot cleaner. So let's get into quick articulation, and then we can start looking at all these accessories that go with it. Okay, so here's where he looks with a ton of light. So we're going to get into the articulation of him with the light. You can see all the gleaming and glistening because of the light. But anyway, his head side to side, and it does go up a bit and down a bit. And you kind of can have some rotation with it there. The arm goes out about that far, so it doesn't quite do the 90. It does do 180 right here. We do have, it came undone. Now, that's sort of a butterfly in a way, but it doesn't work effectively as a butterfly. But anyway, let's get that seated back in there. So we do have some rotation at the elbow right here at the elbow. Now they did put a black piece in there, so it's actually not clear, and it looks good. It looks fine. Same with the hands. The hands are not clear, so parts that could break, that would be more fragile, they made non-clear. I like that whole idea there. Anyway, the hands itself, they do have a little bit of movement to them, not a whole lot of movement to them. And moving down a little bit further, we do have waist swivel, which of course is part of the transformation. And then we do have all the way out on this to the 90. This is a kind of just a ball joint, so it does everything you need. And look how stiff that is. That is stiff. They've improved tolerances on this figure, and we're going to see that. I'm going to show you the improved tolerances. You got 90 at the knee. You do have knee swivel, and then you do have all kinds of articulation, pretty much, that you would need at the foot. So really good articulation, and this figure is about 10 years old now. Getting to the accessories that are going to come with it standard, and some of them are disappearing into the background, but you do get 2 of the standard guns, and they're clear. There is no paint on these whatsoever. I would have liked some paint accents on these, but at the end of the day, we got 2 clear guns. That works really great. We got 2 of these kind of hand, sword, saber kind of things, which work really well. No paint on these, but I think there was paint on the other version, so we're going to see that when we do a comparison side by side. We did get this saber, which does not come with the original one, and there is that. It looks pretty good. It's got kind of a hilt that clips onto the back, so this is all something that's included. They included this with the first APC version, but it wasn't included with Hasbro. Looking at the 2 different versions of head sculpt, now this actually matches the cartoon better, but I like this one here because it's with the faceplate. It's more like the G1S kind, and I know my heart is in G1, but I do appreciate the design of the Prime, and this figure itself, and Optimus Prime, of course, steals my heart every time they make one. So there it is, and I will probably keep that head on there and not use this one here, but they're both excellent head sculpts, and this one is almost exactly perfect to the show. So here he is wielding both of his blades at the same time. As you can see, they look good, but there's no paint on them. I would have liked to see paint on them, and that's my only complaint. But it does look really good, and I like the whole clear bot with those clear pieces. Looks really cool. Here we are with him wielding both of his guns, and again, I would have liked a little bit of paint on them, some sort of accent, something. But it's obviously just clear, kind of like his chest. Part of his chest, not the blue pieces, his thighs, and of course his feet have the same plastics. They were all probably cut from the same sprue, but if you got the original one back in 2011, then you would have only had one gun and one of those sword pieces, so it's awesome they double up on it. This is more than likely how you're going to display the figure, and how I'm going to go through the rest of the review after we look at the Star Saber sword, whatever that sword is. It's a pretty awesome sword, but that's kind of how I'm going to display it. So here he is with his big sword, and the big sword, you take off the tip to slide it through here, the back tip piece, and slide it through there, and that's kind of how you do that whole thing. It does have some paint, just a little bit of gold paint right there, and it does split into 2. You can take this apart. It's made of 2 different colors of plastic, so it comes apart. I am really scared of doing that more than once, but that is the sword and the saber. Looks pretty good. So you take this piece here, you connect to the saber, kind of slide it on there like so. It sort of holds. Get it just right. And then the screw hole right here, do you see that screw hole? That's what you're going to plug it into, and it just all fits just perfect. And you can hold that on the back, and then you can have him geared up, and he can have pretty much all of his accessories right there, and that works. Here you go side by side with the first version. I'm kind of having the glare issue I was worried about with this, but I wanted the light because you need enough light to see this thing adequately. So anyway, having them side by side, of course they both look pretty good. If you did not get this one, it's sold out. It is a sold out KO version of the first Optimus Prime, the first Prime of Optimus Prime. And with it, you can get this guy here. So you can see side by side, like, hey, if you have your display and you're into Transformers Prime, would you want the clear one? And it would be fine. It would work fine, I think. In fact, I like kind of the digitized look to it. This here is exactly, almost exactly as I see from the original versions, except they do come with the Saber. And looking at the Sabers, they are different. And although they're both clear plastic. The Saber here, this is a different color of blue, and it has a little bit more paint on the hilt and paint on the tip. So this is all just clear. Obviously, it needs to be different. So it's a different color of blue. They're going in a different direction when it comes to that. The same with their weapon. But there are some differences between these two. And then let's get into what this does better. And what this does better is it has much better tolerances. Like you pick it up and kind of wiggle it around, and he's kind of stiff. This guy here is the first one they put out. And I know every time a company does something for the first time, it is a challenge. And this one here is a bit floppy in the legs, and I don't like that. And I kind of gave it a pass when I did the review, because I was like, well, you know, this is that's kind of how I remember some of the old Hasbro things. They just kind of felt like that, and they just didn't have a whole lot of tightness in it. But they adjusted the tolerances. I think they did it when they made the metallic one, the next version, because they've made like 6 versions of this Prime. But now, right now, you can get the clear one. That's pretty much the only one available. But I think this one looks good. But I probably would prefer the metallic one more than either of these. So if I could get my hands on the metallic, it would probably be my favorite of all 3. All right, so doing some quick comparisons and comparing this guy to a few things that we are used to seeing right now. Like this is the Earthrise Seeker. This is, of course, the APC Prime. And this is Earthrise Prime. Now, this is sold as a leader class figure, but it's Voyager scale. And as you can see, this thing is actually a little bit bigger and way stockier than the Earthrise Prime. But back in the day, for a Voyager class, a Voyager scale, they were a little bit bigger. So Voyager was a little bit bigger back in the day than what we're seeing with Earthrise, what we're seeing with Siege, and evidently Kingdom. We got one more comparison to do real quick. Here he is next to the Cyclonus, and I have to say, the way I feel about all of this is Cyclonus is kind of feeling more like old school type of Voyager scale. He's a little bit bigger, and so this is an old school figure next to a modern figure that is getting old school scale treatment, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I love the Cyclonus, but I kind of like the flashiness and what's going on with this figure too. Here he is next to the Weaponizer Optimus Prime from the Prime series, and the Weaponizer gimmick is kind of cool. It's kind of interesting, but here he is. That's kind of how he looks next to him, and I always thought like the leader class kind of version was always the best, but I think this time Voyager was the better version. So let's get this guy transformed up. We need to take all of these parts and pieces off here, so we're going to remove all of that. We're going to start with the arms, so we need to pull this down, fold the hand down, fold this up, and there's a tab. It tabs in like so. So we're going to do the same thing on the other arm. Fold this down, fold the hand down, fold this up, and tab that in like so. Then we need to fold this all out. And these tab in, but they don't sit really well. So as you can see, I didn't really have to untab them, anything like that. So, okay. So we're going to take these parts here, fold the arms up, and then we need to have this folded like so. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Fold the arms up, fold this around. Wow, that's tight. And get these plugged in. Now this is going to plug in, and it seems like it's kind of doing some give to come apart. When we do transform, it's going to be better. Let's go ahead and turn this waist piece around. Now be careful because everything is fragile. Now once that's turned around, you can fold this piece here down, and then we're going to fold all of this in and tab it in. So it's not holding together tight like that, but once you tab this in, these tabs into those slots. And again, with all the light that I have on this, it's starting to give it a bit of a glare, and I don't like that. This is much tighter tolerance than the other version, but here we go. All right, so we've got that part done. Now this already automatically just kind of folded down, which is kind of the next bit of the situation here. We need to get this piece here out though. a little bit of movement past here to get it out. And again, I'm got to be real careful. You've got to be careful with this clear plastic. I can't reiterate enough how careful you have to be. So once you have it out, you kind of fold it down, plug it into place. Let me see here. Right here, there is kind of a notch that's going to go into. So make sure everything's got to be lined up just right, so it folds right into that notch. And there it is. Same thing on the other side. We need to move this past this piece here and get it out, and then fold it down. And this is going to tab in this piece into here, so get it just right, and then the front grille is going to tab in together just like so. I do like how you can see the blue in there. Anyway, moving this around, we're going to open this up, and kind of like we had this with before, you want to kind of move this down into place. Now these pieces here on the original Hasbro are kind of rubbery, and all of the APC ones are stiff and hard, which I think is an improvement. So that's, again, if you notice that you get one of these that's not rubbery, you probably don't have an official. There is some sort of detailing in here in the cockpit, which is kind of cool. On the driver's seat, we fold the head down. Then we got to work on the legs, and the legs are pretty simple. Go ahead and start by folding in these pieces here, and then we're going to disconnect all of this, and this is going to form the hood. I went off camera. This is going to form the hood, so we're going to connect all of this like so. Now that snapped in really, really well. We're going to fold this up. Before we do anything else, we need to bring up the trailer hitch right here, and then we're going to tab this together here and here, and then we're going to move this into place like so, and then tab it in. It tabs in a few different places here. Let's get this in place just right, and make sure everything tabs in just right. Why is it not tabbing in just right? There it goes. It's kind of cool that they make those move a bit. And what you'll want to do is, it does give some like give. Right here, it does give a bit, so you want to just get it adjusted to where it looks right. And I think that's kind of a cool feature, that you can adjust it to make it just right. Let's go ahead and have a look at this guy. This is a really cool looking version of this Prime. Now we're going to do my lighting and kind of show the transparentness of this without blinding the camera here, of course. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like a fun thing to do. I really don't review much clear stuff, so there are some interesting features to this. Now, first of all, we do have clear wheels. There is a dark wheel version also. This is the clear wheel version, and I will link at least one, if not both, in the comments, but both are available right now. And then looking at this, this kind of gives you that whole feeling of you get to see inside the clear, the mechanisms. It really feels like you're looking inside the mechanisms. And when they have like electronics that have clear outside pieces, that's what this really does feel like when it's in this alt mode. So it is kind of cool. Again, if you're looking for perfect screen representation, this doesn't match screen representation because it wasn't clear. But it has a shine to it, like a sheen that really, I mean, you can see everything shining on it. I do like the blue in the windows, the blue in the front of the lights, and that is really cool. And it's got different color, clear plastic, which is outstanding. I really like that. From the back, this for some reason, I felt like this was terrible when I reviewed the first one, but now that I'm looking at it again, it's not so bad. So let's go ahead and bring in the other version. And you can see with the other version, I've clipped in all of the, well, not all of these, some of the weapons. So you can clip this into the trailer hitch. You can put this on the hole right here and here, which is pretty cool because it's not exposed when it's in robot mode. So it's like a 5mm port that's only exposed when you're in the alt mode. So I think that is pretty cool. Now, of course, you could do this however you want, but you can fit 3 of his 4 weapons, which really the original figure only came with 2, so you could have fit both of them on there. back originally. And so looking at them side by side, obviously this looks more like the cartoon, the original one that came out. They did have some clear blue, and the clear blue on here, on the headlights, and up here, it's all a different color. Clear blue kind of carries through from the bot mode, and then there he is from the side. So definitely a nice looking truck. Now I can tell you right now that one thing I did kind of have an issue with G1 is that I never saw cab over trucks in my area. So this is more reminiscent of a real truck that I see driving down the road today and in the 80s when I was a kid. So cab over design for original Optimus Prime wasn't there. So this is where I think this shines and is more realistic. Now I probably would prefer the black wheel version over the clear wheel version, but again, you're looking at clear, it's not really that big of a deal. Kind of want to show real quick the bottom of this guy, and this is just how it looks. I don't think it looks bad, so you've got to have kind of some kibble going somewhere. It looks really good. This is, can't believe this old design, this old figure is actually as good of a figure as it is. So this has been the APC-003 Attack Prime Crystal Power version of the Transformers Prime Voyager class Optimus Prime. I think it's a really good figure. I think that the clear, they did a good job with the clear. They did some good job with the paint accents. It's overall a really solid figure. If you're in for the Prime era, you might be in on this. If you look at the prices of some of the first editions, those are really expensive. And getting this in crystal clear form, I know the crystal clear, the clear plastic can be fragile. It can break down over time. So you got to be really careful with it. But if you're getting it as a collectible, you're going to take care of it anyway. I do like the paint accents. I do like all of the accessories, the doubled up of the accessories, having the big saber and all that good stuff. It's a pretty good figure. I'll have a link down below. Of course, I did get this at Show Z. You can get yours there too. Like and subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.